You know that feeling, right? That little moment of doubt in the middle of your prayer. Did I miss something? Today, we're diving into the built-in fix for those moments, the prostration of forgetfulness, or Sujud al-Sahwa, specifically from the Hanafi perspective.
We have all been there. You're trying your best to focus, and boom, your mind just drifts. Suddenly, you're asking yourself, wait, was that the third or fourth rak'ah? Or maybe you start to stand up when you were supposed to be sitting. It happens to the best of us, and thankfully, there's a really beautiful built-in way to handle it.
And that remedy is called Sujud al-Sahwa, literally the prostration of forgetfulness. It's designed to mend those specific, unintentional mistakes. Now here's what's absolutely crucial in the Hanafi school. This isn't just a nice to do. When it's required, performing it is considered wajib, which means it's an obligatory part of fixing your prayer.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the why, the wisdom behind this act. Then we'll get straight into the how, a simple step-by-step guide. After that, we'll cover the when, what mistakes actually trigger it, what to do when you're just plain confused, and finally, how all this works when you're praying in a group.
All right, first things first. Before we even learn the steps, let's understand the principle behind it. Why is fixing an error in prayer so important in the first place? The core idea is actually pretty profound. This prostration is here to repair any flaws in your prayer. And think about it. Because the prayer itself is an obligation, the act of mending that prayer also becomes an obligation. It turns a simple fix into its own powerful act of worship.
Okay, so that's the philosophy. Now let's get down to brass tacks. How do you actually do it? Let's walk through the steps and you'll see it's surprisingly straightforward. Okay, so picture this. You're in your final sitting and you've just finished reciting the tashahhud. Instead of finishing the prayer, you do this. First, you give just one salam, only to your right. Then, you go down and perform 2 extra prostrations, just like normal. After that, you sit back up and recite the tashahhud all over again. And finally, you finish your prayer like you always do, with salams to both the right and the left. That's it, a simple 5-step repair.
In this method, it isn't something just made up. It's rooted directly in prophetic guidance. There's a key saying that establishes this very practice. For every mistake of forgetfulness, there are 2 prostrations after the salam. It's a direct, simple, and divinely taught remedy.
So we know how to do it, but here's the million-dollar question. What kind of mistakes actually require this prostration? Because, not every little slip of the mind calls for it.
The triggers are really specific. It becomes obligatory if you unintentionally add a major action, like an extra bow or prostration. It's also required if you leave out an obligatory part, like the first sitting, or the special kunut supplication in which your prayer. Even misplacing an action, like reciting Quran when you should be bowing, counts. And then there are a couple of specific ones for the imam, like messing up the loud and quiet recitation, or ending the whole prayer too early. Let's look at one of the most common ones. You forget the first sitting, and you start standing up for the third rak'ah. The guidance here is so practical. If you remember while you're still basically in a sitting position, you just go back down. No big deal. No extra prostrations needed. But if you're already mostly standing up, you just keep going. You continue with your prayer and then you perform the Sujud al-Sahwa at the end to make up for it.
Okay, but what about when it's not a clear-cut mistake, but just pure doubt? That nagging feeling of, wait, was that 3 rak'ahs or 4? Well, there's clear guidance for that confusion too. So the ruling here actually depends on how often this happens to you. If this is the very first time you've ever felt this kind of serious doubt in your life, the ruling is strict. You have to stop and restart the prayer from the beginning. But if this is a recurring issue for you, if doubt is something you struggle with often, the guidance is different. You should go with your gut. Act on what you feel is most likely correct. And if you have no strong feeling either way, you just take the lower number. So if you're stuck between 3 and 4, you assume you've only done 3, and you complete your prayer from there.
All right, we've pretty much covered praying alone. But what happens in a group? The rules change quite a bit in congregational prayer, and it really depends on your role. These rules are all about maintaining unity. So if the imam makes a mistake, everybody, the entire congregation, has to follow him in performing the Sujud al-Sahwa. But if you, as a follower, make a personal mistake, you actually do nothing. The principle is that the imam's prayer covers you, preventing any chaos in the lines. And what about the latecomer, the person who joins mid-prayer? Well, you perform the prostration with the imam in the group, and then you stand up to complete whatever rak'ahs you missed.
So we've gone through all these different scenarios, these rules for individuals, for groups, for doubt, and after all that detail, it really all comes down to this one simple, powerful number.
And this is the most merciful part of it all. Even if you made multiple mistakes in one prayer, let's say you forgot the first sitting and you recited in the wrong place, you don't have to do multiple sets of corrections. Just one set of those two simple prostrations is enough to mend everything. It's a single, powerful act of repair.
And that really gets you thinking, doesn't it? This whole practice perfectly shows this beautiful balance in our worship. On one hand, you have the discipline to strive for perfection and focus. And on the other, you have this incredible mercy, a clear path for correction when we, as human beings, inevitably fall short. It's a powerful reminder that while getting the form right is important, the ultimate goal is that sincere connection, and that, thankfully, can always be mended.